coach. I'm going to repeat that one more time because sometimes the live view cuts you off. So what's happening, everybody? My name is Professor Bobby Borg, also known as Coach. And what I'm going to do right now for our office hours is just give you a quick overview on attorneys and agents in the music business, okay? So let's just get right to it. So first of all, quick definition of an attorney is the attorney represents your best interests in all legal matters. So that basically means that they protect your best interest without conflict in all legal matters. So the attorney is involved in all aspects of your professional music business career. And when I say without conflict, that basically means that there is no conflict of interest. In other words, let's just say, for example, if two parties are doing a deal, they're not representing both sides, obviously, right? Typically, your attorney has to disclose that there's a conflict that might exist, and then you can make the decision of whether or not to carry on with that attorney. Typically, what's called a conflict waiver is usually signed in those particular cases, okay? An attorney can represent you in transactional matters. That basically means in deals like negotiating contracts, and they can also represent you in trial type situations as well. So that would be basically, if you had to go to court for a particular matter. Some attorneys don't do that, so that would help you find an attorney that could help you and represent you in those particular issues. Okay? And then, of course, an attorney reads all those contracts and makes sense of all that complicated legalese writing that we're used to seeing. Things like in perpetuity, which means forever, or when they refer to something like the universe. That basically means like in case there's some like satellite beaming down, something, and the company wants rights to that. Other things I think are also funny is when it says something to like notwithstanding anything to the contrary. Basically, that basically means despite anything that was said before, only this matters now. And they're experts in writing contracts and making sure that things aren't ambiguous, I beg your pardon. So it's essentially the broad scope of what an attorney does, okay? Finding and hiring an attorney, essentially the best way to find an attorney is through referrals. So referrals from, people that might know in the music industry that you trust and that who have worked with a particular attorney in the past and they recommend them. I would say that is the best way to go, obviously. Sometimes you could use what's called lawyer referral services, and like in Los Angeles, there's many of them. There's the Los Angeles County Bar Association. There's the California Attorney Referral Service. Also Nolo.com and findlegal.com and Legal Shield are also services that you might look into. Generally speaking, the way lawyer referral services work is that you contact them and you tell them what your particular situation is, and then they refer you to 3 attorneys that will talk to you for like about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you could decide whether or not you want to work with those attorneys. And if you do, then of course you have to pay their fees. But in order to typically use a lawyer referral service, you also have to pay a fee. So, but they can be helpful. But again, I think bottom line, it's best just to get a referral from someone in the music industry you trust. In terms of qualities that you look for in attorneys, I mean, obviously, do they do music deals? You don't want to get an attorney that does real estate law, let's just say, for example, because every area has, has areas that are very, very particular to that part of law. So, for example, one time I was negotiating a recording agreement, and I got my father's, one of my father's clients involved that only does literary deals. And the problem with literary deals is it doesn't have the same types of terms that would be in recording agreements. That attorney didn't have the same experience, so therefore didn't get the same type of respect that maybe another music attorney would have got. So the bottom line is that you always want to look for, an attorney that is involved in the music industry, okay? What is their clout? What clients have they worked with in the past? Typically, the attorneys that work with bigger clients are going to get bigger, are going to get more respect and get their calls returned faster. What's the vibe? Do you vibe with that particular attorney? Do you feel like confident that they're going to return your phone calls in a speedy manner? I've literally had some really big attorneys where it just dragged on for months and months and months, and I would be calling saying like, are you guys doing anything? And it got to the point where I basically just had to fire the attorney because it didn't seem like they were doing anything. Okay. I just want to say hi to a couple people that have jumped online. We got Sami Mershra, Gary Host. What's going on, Gary? Someone by the name of It's Harsh. And man, you guys got some funny usernames. But Gary, what's happening? I think I recognize Gary's name. In any case, let's go on to talking about fee agreements, because fee agreements, which are usually in writing in the state of California, are probably the area that is most complicated, or I think that stresses people out the most. So let's talk about that. First of all, the range of fees that attorneys can charge in the music industry can be anywhere from $300 to $1,500 an hour. That's a lot of money, especially for most artists that are just on like a top ramen diet, you know? So that's complicated. Sometimes they charge in increments of the hour. So in other words, if you call them for 5 minutes, they'll round up to, let's just say, 10 minutes. So if you have an attorney charging you, $300 an hour, there's 10 minutes in an hour. So 1/6 of 300 is $50. So if you call an attorney and talk to him for like, a minute and a half or something, you might get charged $50 for that. That's why it's really, really important that you guys educate yourself about the music industry first by reading books like this one, me. This is Basic Solutions. Okay? Anyway, sometimes the attorney will cap the amount of money that they'll charge you. So they'll say, I charge $300 an hour, but I won't go over 1,000, something of that nature. Oftentimes the expenses are also tacked on to your bill as well. And oftentimes if you go on for a long time, they'll send you a monthly bill and they'll sort of outline, obviously what you owe them. And sorry if you guys are getting some like wind distraction. It's a very, very windy day today in California. All right, moving on. Sometimes the attorney will charge you for a flat fee. Personally, I prefer flat fees. I don't like hourly fees just because they scare me that they might go on and get really, really expensive. So sometimes an attorney will just flat out say, I'll charge you $300 to look at this recording agreement. Okay? Now, what happens when the attorney charges you too low? In other words, it ends up getting dragged out for whatever particular reason. So oftentimes what happens is the attorney's not necessarily happy about that. You might feel yourself being rushed off phone calls and things of that nature, which you don't want to happen. So sometimes attorneys actually estimate too high to prevent that from happening, which is also something that you shouldn't be very happy about either, right? Generally speaking, though, when you do negotiate a flat fee with the attorney, make sure you know exactly what you're getting. So in other words, say that, what are you going to do? You're going to read the contract, explain it to me, send it back to the people that I'm negotiating with, and then when they get back the contract, you're going to read it again, and then you're going to send it back again. Like, make sure that it's clear you know what you're going to get for that flat fee, okay? Sometimes attorneys will work on what's called a percentage of the deal, which means they'll just take 5% of the deal that's negotiated. So if a $300,000 contract comes in, they'll take 5% of that, which is $15,000. Or sometimes what they'll do is they'll negotiate for $315,000 with the record company and then just peel that $15,000 off so you still have $300,000, right? So they'll kind of make the record company pay for it. Sometimes attorneys do what's called label shopping deals, which basically means they'll try to like shop your music to record companies and things like that to get you, deals. These days it's not as common simply because most record companies look at data analytics to find artists, but it is still something that exists. In this particular case, make sure that if they actually find you the deal, they might get a percentage of the total deal, meaning that if you get, let's just say, for example, a 3-record deal, they're going to get 5% of the $300,000 maybe, and then 5% of the next deal that you have, which might be $315,000, and then 5% of the next deal, which might be $350,000. In other words, it's for the total length of the deal, and you might not even have that attorney anymore. So you definitely want to talk about percentages and caps. Like, in other words, if they would cap the amount of money that they would take, and if they're not your attorney anymore, whether or not the percentage still applies. These are all very, very important things to talk about. Okay, something you should know about is what's called a flat retainer. Sometimes attorneys will ask you for a large portion of money up front, which is based on an hourly fee. So, for example, one time I had an attorney at $300 an hour, and he wanted $1,500 up front. No, I beg your pardon. They wanted $3,000 up front, which basically means that they wanted 10 hours paid in advance. Now, sometimes they do this because, it will cover some of their expenses while they're working for you, and sometimes they do it because they're afraid that you're not going to pay them, so they want it up front before they do anything. In any case, typically what happens in these situations, again, they're going to send you a monthly bill, and they're going to sort of say, okay, you gave me $3,000 and I worked for 2 hours here and 1 hour here and 3 hours here, kind of like an itemized credit card bill, kind of. I had one particularly bad situation where the attorney was charging me for all these ridiculous things. Like, for example, I called him one time to ask him for directions, and he charged me $50 for asking for directions. I mean, that's typically something that doesn't happen, but it happened to me, and it could happen to you. Personally, I hate flat retainers. I hate hourly fees. I would just ask for a guaranteed flat fee if possible. Sometimes attorneys do what's called value billing. So what they do is they'll bill you at the end of the deal based on the value that they brought to the deal. So, for example, if they just negotiated the deal, they didn't really do much, right? But if they found you the deal and they actually introduced you and helped shape the deal, they might ask for, they might charge you based on that. So they might say something like, if I get you X, you will pay Y, something like that. And usually you're paying an hourly rate or a retainer against that amount that they're going to get, right? So you need to talk about these things. Sometimes there's something called contingency billing, which they basically just say, if I win your case, then I'm going to get this much money. And if I lose, I don't get anything. All right? So that's just a couple things about attorneys. What's up, Patty Hunter? Patty Hunter is in the house. I might be able to answer some of the questions that are coming in. And I apologize if there's a little bit of wind noise. But anyway, a couple more things we need to talk about. Talent agents in the music industry. Talent agents are essentially the people that procure work for artists in the entertainment industry. They book, obviously, tours for you. And the way they do that is they'll negotiate deals and they'll get 10% of the deal that they negotiated. They oftentimes help establish ticket prices, when the tickets will go on sale, and they collect deposits from the promoters. And as soon as you finish playing the show, they'll then send that, take your commission, and they'll send the rest of the money out to your business manager. Talent agents also strategize, whether or not you're going to headline or whether or not you're going to open. Right? They'll also look at like the routing of the tour. The routing is the directions that you go in. So, for example, you might play Los Angeles, then you might play, Santa Barbara, then you might play, Oregon, then you might play, etc. And the idea is that there's not too much distance in between each gig, obviously, but there's enough difference so that it's sort of like a new market. Generally speaking, talent agents work with bands in demand. So when you're a young band, you aren't in demand. So how are you going to book yourself? You're gonna do it yourself. You're gonna pick up the phone and call club promoters yourself. There are local promoters in Los Angeles, like Sean Healy Presents and Breaking Sound, that you can work with as well. At the mid-level, Oftentimes you'll find agencies like Sound Talent Group or Paradigm that might be interested in working with you. And when you're at the major label level, you could have like Creative Artist Agency, William Morris, United Talent Agency, Wasserman, people of that nature. But again, typically, because agents get paid on percentages, 10% of zero is zero, right? So you have to at least be making $1,000 to even get anyone really interested in working with you. Okay, so if you are going to book your own shows, I'm just going to tell you right now, I mean, I've booked my own shows for years as a young artist. And, the way it works simply is, just by picking up the phone and, looking at the different venues in your area, picking up the phone and finding out when the promoter's call time is, and then giving them a call and just listen. What they give a shit about is that you're putting asses in seats and that you are going to get people to come out to your show. It's really all they care about. They don't care about you saying how great you think you are. It's just like, look, how many people are you guys going to bring, and what are you going to do to promote the show? That's ultimately what they are mostly interested in, okay? Another way to do it is just to ask other bands that you respect in your hometown. Sorry about the wind. Asking about other bands in their hometown, like, where they play and what clubs are good, and just, using the references from people that you know in your town. You could go out to shows, go to your local venues and stuff like that, and check out the venues and see what you think looks cool, right? And what might be, the right audience for you. And, it's not rocket science, you guys, it's just a matter of doing some work. So let me just check real quick, see if there's any questions here. Patty Hunter, I have a single with BMI. How can you get royalties whenever it's played on Reverb Nation? All right, it's kind of off our topic. Patty, I'll reach out to you at another time. Let's see. All right, I just got a couple other people just saying hi and stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, good deal. People saying your glasses are nice. Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Anyway, all right. So that's pretty much it, you guys. Signing off. My name is Bobby Borg, helping musicians turn their art to a more successful business. This has been Office Hours, a real quick overview of music managers. I beg your pardon, music attorneys and talent agents. All right, you guys. Peace, love, and I'll see you later.